420 kilobytes per second is good. Oh, and it's staying there. Oh, no, it's not. No. No. No, that's still better than last time. I had a nerve-wracking internet check just a second ago, but we're all right, it seems. We're all right. Hello, Ratgloss. Hello. Oh, it's unusual for you to be the earliest one in. Actually, no. Recently you have been the earliest one in. Oh. This is gonna be a stream of ums. This one's gonna be an stream. One of those streams. See? And it's Prince of Calador, hello! Hello. Oh my goodness. We've got such a nice Gandalf elf-free portion to look forward to. It's rather exciting. Aragorn free. It's just, and Ugluk is yes, Ratgloss. You have an orc centric meme. Yes, I'm mildly what's the word? I'm not quite happy with it because I was trying to capture. I couldn't quite find a meme that properly captured Ugluk's very intense, like, passive-aggressive, guilt-tripping white mum energy. Like, he really does. So I'm gonna try and read it that way. But I'm pretty happy with this meme. It certainly works for the times that we're in. What was I saying? Yes, I mean Ugluk and all the orcs are just supremely more enjoyable characters to read than Aragorn. I've got to get all of the Aragorn bashing in before Kaz arrives. Oh, very sleepy today. Might be a little not as long as usual. I keep saying that, and it's going to be the same length. But maybe one day I'll say it and it'll actually come true. Secret Opossum is here. Hello, everyone's coming in. It's all good. We'll get our regulars. I think we'll get our regulars. Everyone seems to like Mondays quite well. Yep, all hobbits. Honeybee asks, is it's hobbits for the next chapter, right? And I said, yep, all hobbits, and orcs, and then hobbits and ents. And we're not going to be out of the hobbit ent stream for a good long time. We've just got hobbits and ents for days. It's really very exciting and a very peaceful. Very peaceable time for us all. Secretly Opossum says, sorry I couldn't make it to the previous stream, I've been super busy with my baby cat. Well, I mean, don't apologise, you obviously were very busy. Baby cats are... and even if you weren't busy, like, realistically speaking, there's no contest between playing with a baby cat and listening to a long stream about racist elves. No, what was the last one about? Oh no, it was about Aragorn. Sorry, Aragorn was being racist to the Rohirrim. Not that bad. Not so badly racist. But anyway, Mency is here. Hello, excellent. And Dessa is here. Hello. Oh. Everyone's coming in, and Seven Stars and Seven Stones is here. Wonderful. We're rushing towards the finish line. And I was trying to remember the preamble that I wanted to the preamble discussion. Oh, but before I do that, how's everybody else? So secretly a possum has a baby kitten. They're fine then. She's they're in a great place. How's everybody else doing? How has your days been? Oh, Honeybee says, I'm good. I was catching up on Cal's Shadow of War stream, so you meant you weren't good. I imagine it wasn't good after that. Oh dear. No, the streams are very funny. I was very sad that the last one was didn't pan out. I was really ready to get angry at that game again. Reklos is painting. Oh, wonderful! An excellent activity to do while we're, but not Gollum yet, which is disappointing. But I'm sure you'll get to it. 7 Stars 7 Stones says it's Labor Day here, aka a holiday, so I had a lovely 12-mile-ish bike ride in the woods. Oh, and very, very topical for just what is basically just going to be a lot of running. And a lot of it in woods now. So, very topical, very appropriate for the stream. I approve greatly. Excellent. Prince of Calador says, my day could be described as oof. So this is a nice cheer up. Oh, I'm so sorry, Cal. I hope it wasn't too oof. Doesn't sound very nice. Dessert's cooking. Excellent. Oh, I do love the idea of people cooking while they listen to the stream. It's very nice. Very podcasty of me. Oh well, it's good. Everyone seems to be having a good time, except for Cal, who I still hope has a better end to the day. Now, what was I thinking of? Yes, that was it. Again, I pass so quickly over stuff up when I'm in the groove, but so last stream we got to the one bit in all of the books that is kind of a sticking, kind of like not a sticking point. It's like a little bit of I don't know how to. I haven't been able to kind of quite slot it into my understanding of Boromir and his his reputation amongst other people, because Éomer says, what does he say? He says like he's very distressed by Boromir's death, and he says. He would have been a great captain when his time came, which is an interesting way to say that when Boromir has already retaken Osgiliath once. Like he retook it once already, and then he defended it again, and there's a lot of stuff that he did by himself, and certainly in Gondor. The impression you get of him is that he's already a fully fledged, like he's a veteran commander at that point. Everyone is very impressed with him. And what I realized when talking to Des was that actually it does fit in with my idea, because Éomer probably did not meet Boromir that much. He says that Boromir has come to Rohan before previously and all of that, but probably Éomer hasn't spent much time with him, but he certainly has spent some time with him. And the fact that the impression that he got of Boromir was that he was kind of he didn't get any kind of impression of his grandeur or how impressive he was, means that I also get to have another little cudgel to beat people with about Boromir not being prideful or glory-seeking, because can you imagine if an actual prideful or glory-seeking person, like for example Aragorn, whom Éomer has just met, and like has already told Éomer like every single possible important thing that he believes is important about him, and already like fully impressed how amazing he is onto Éomer. Meanwhile, Éomer's met Boromir multiple times and just doesn't seem to know most of what Boromir has accomplished, because Boromir doesn't boast, apparently. He never boasts at all at any point. and I have it's finally slotted into place. I'm very happy about it. 7 Stars 7 Stone says AMA is pretty young, right? Yeah, he's 27, 26, 27, around that age. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Rakos. Yeah, I was very happy with figuring it out. But yeah. AMA is a baby. He can't have like, because the kind of inheriting of the marshaldom is a little bit confusing. I don't think it's an inheritance because whilst I think Aemond was the third marshal initially, yes, he was the third marshal for a while, until his death. But Aemir was 12 when he died, so he couldn't have taken up the third marshaldom then. I assume that somebody had to have died during, or maybe gotten too old, who was a third marshaldom. Was a third marshal, and so Aemir took up the crown. But we've no notion of when that happened. It was I think he's at least been the third marshal for about 5 years. But yeah, Honeybee says Boromir is show don't tell, Aragorn is tell don't show. Yes, excellent. Yes, we've got to get these all in before Kaz arrives. We've got to get these all in before Kaz arrives. It's true though. It's true. It's it's undeniably true, because Boromir never tells anybody anything that he is, any impressive thing about him at any stage ever. There's never a point where Boromir says, I did this good thing. Whereas Aragorn can't go, he can't meet somebody without them knowing that he is somehow very impressive. And that's just canon. It's just canon. You can't get away from it. It's just canon. And anyway, it's fine. I care about this a normal amount. I care about this a completely normal amount. He also, I think, there's something to be said for the fact that I think Éomer believes Boromir is younger than he actually is. I think Éomer probably doesn't necessarily keep up very closely with the twists and turns of Gondor's stewards' family dates and stuff. And considering men of Gondor just don't seem to age. They just don't age as fast as others. I think probably Éomer's impression of Boromir is he is actually a lot younger than he is. Yeah. So there's that. So yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, exactly. I do care. I do care about it a normal amount. The fact that other people don't care about it this much is abnormal. Oh, Dessa, you can't say that. You can't say that. You can't say that. No. Sorry, Dessa just said, well, he's got so much lifespan ahead of him. Which is cruel and mean. A cruel, mean thing to say to me. Oh my god, it's Jen! Oh my goodness, Jen is here. That's wonderful. We have a Jen in today. That's great. Jen says, you don't care about anything a normal amount. Well, untrue. Untrue. And I am not the one who is wrong. The rest of you are the ones who are wrong. Why don't you care about Boromir this much? I mean, you should. He died for us all. You don't care? Dreadful. What time have we gotten to? 14 minutes. We'll get to... should we start now? Should we start now? I'm not sure. We've only got 10 people in, but that has been the usual amount for a few days. I think we lost a few people when we switched to the two towers. Everyone was very content with the everyone was very into the fellowship, and then we started the two towers, and of course Boromir isn't here, so now nobody wants to come. Jen says, "You show up on my doorstep. I'd like to talk to you about our Lord and Savior Captain Boromir." Yeah, but now listen, Boromir wouldn't want me to do that though. It's because Boromir wouldn't want me to do that. He's a normal dude. He just tried really hard. He just tried. So it's more like I'm standing in the middle of like some very crowded street, just asking people why they don't care about Boromir more. and I mean, more likely it's me running around trying to we're trying to what's the word? Yes, I'm trying to I run around the street trying to disabuse people of their impressions from the films versus the books. Honeybee says, "Speaking of, the title still says the Fellowship. We're clinging on to Boromir with desperate hands." Yes, I actually can't figure out how to change it. I did try, but I can't figure out how to change it. I'm sure there's a very easy way that I'm missing, but I'll have to try that again in a bit. Anyway, I think this is the number we're going to get tonight. So we'll just get started if I can remember where we ended up. Oh, I think it's here. Alright then. One more drink. I did forget how much I liked the Uruks. They are very funny. This whole incredible dynamic between Ugluk and Grishnak is deeply deep. Jen just asked, "Wait, is Boromir only in one book?" Yes, he's only in the first book. Well, no, technically he's in two, but he dies. The first chapter of the Two Towers is called "The Departure of Boromir." So you don't find out that he's dead until you read the first chapter of. Jen says, "I suppose that's on brand. You couldn't get attached to a character that's actually in the majority of something." No, that's not true. If they made good characters if they made good characters that spanned most of any piece of media, I would like them. Stormlight Archive. Dalinar is a main character, and he's throughout the Hobbit. But the problem is that nobody cares about responsible, generally competent, emotionally stable people who make good decisions. Nobody cares about them, and they have to die because writers can't write a book that. They can't write a story where there's tension, but also people might be making the right decisions or clever decisions. They're all hacks. Except for Brandon Sanderson, who actually does manage to do quite a good job of it. Then again, Dalinar does make some mistakes. But anyway, let's get to reading before I start talking about a whole other book series. Neither Pippin nor Merry remembered much of the latter part of the journey. Evil dreams and evil waking were blended into a long tunnel of misery, with hope growing ever fainter behind. They ran, striving to keep up the pace set by the orcs, licked every now and again with a cruel thong cunningly handled. If they halted or stumbled, they were seized and dragged for some distance. The warmth of the orc draft had gone. Pippin felt cold and sick again. Suddenly he fell face downward on the turf. Hard hands with rending nails gripped and lifted him. He was carried like a sack once more, and darkness grew about him. Whether the darkness of another night or a blindness of his eyes, he could not tell. Dimly he became aware of voices clamouring. It seemed that many of the orcs were demanding a halt. Ugluk was shouting. He felt himself flung to the ground, and he lay there, and he lay as he fell, till black dreams took him. But he did not escape long from pain. Soon the iron grip of merciless hands was on him again. For a long time he was tossed and shaken, and then slowly the darkness gave way, and he came back to the waking world and found out that it was morning. Orders were shouted, and he was thrown roughly on the grass. I feel like that whole paragraph could have been one sentence. I feel like that whole paragraph could have been just he went in and out of consciousness, and then later on woke up and he was thrown roughly on the grass. I feel like that could have been really just one sentence. I mean, I'm not one to tell you how to do your job, Tolkien, but I don't know. Maybe that could have been shorter. Honeybee says, but the drama. Well, but is it dramatic though? It's definitely going into like the way he talks about the directions. I mean, he just has to tell us everything we don't want to know and keep away everything we do. Yes, Honeybee says, evil dreams and evil waking were blended into a long tunnel of misery with hope growing ever fainter. That's a good quote. Yes, it's very, I feel a kinship with it. Rakla says, if you want one sentence summaries, read the Silmarillion. Valid. I do not want to read the Silmarillion, so we'll keep going. There he lay for a while, fighting with despair. His head swam, but from the heat in his body, he guessed that he had been given another draught. An orc stooped over him and flung him some bread and a strip of raw dried flesh. That's a very mean way of saying just salted dried meat. Like it's I'm sure the hobbits have dried meat. Anyway, he ate the stale grey bread hungrily, but not the meat. He was famished, but not yet so famished as to eat flesh flung to him by an orc. The flesh of he dared not guess what creature. He sat up and looked about. Merry was not far away. They were by the banks of a swift narrow river. Ahead mountains loomed. A tall peak was catching the first rays of the sun. A dark smudge of forest lay on the lower slopes before them. There was much shouting and debating amongst the orcs. A quarrel seemed on the point of breaking out again between the Northerners and the Isengarders. Some were pointing back away south, and some were pointing eastward. "Very well," said Ugluk. "Leave them to me, then. No killing, as I've told you before, but if you want to throw away what we've come all the way to get, throw it away. I'll look after it. Let the fighting Uruk-hai do the work, as usual. If you're afraid of the Whiteskins, run! Run! There's the forest," he shouted, pointing ahead. "Get to it! It's your best hope. Off you go, and quick, before I knock a few more heads off to put more sense into the others." There was some cursing and scuffling, and then most of the Northerners broke away and dashed off, over 100 of them, running wildly along the river towards the mountains. The hobbits were left with the Isengarders, a grim, dark band, 80 at least, of large, swart, slant-eyed orcs. Oh my god, please, yes, we know, with great bows and short, broad-bladed swords. A few of the larger and bolder Northerners remained with them. "And now we'll deal with Grishnak," said Ugluk. But some even of his own followers were looking uneasily southwards. "I know," growled Ugluk. "The cursed horse boys have got wind of us. But that's all your fault, Snugger. You and the other scouts ought to have had your ears cut off. But we are the fighters. We'll feast on horse flesh yet, or something better." At that moment Pippin saw why some of the troop had been pointing eastwards. From that direction there now came hoarse cries, and there was Grishnak again, and at his back a couple of score of others like him, long-armed, crooked-legged orcs. They had a red eye painted on their shields. Ugluk stepped forward to meet them. "So you've come back," he said. "Thought better of it, eh?"
"I've returned to see that orders are carried out and the prisoners are safe," answered Grishnak.
"Indeed," said Ugluk. "Waste of effort. I'll see that orders are carried out in my command. And what else did you come back for? You went in a hurry. Did you leave anything behind?"
"I left a fool," snarled Grishnak, "and there were some stout fellows with him that are too good to lose. I knew you'd lead them into a mess. I've come to help."
"Splendid," laughed Ugluk. "But unless you've got some guts for fighting, you've taken the wrong way. Lugburs was your road. The Whiteskins are coming. God, I wish he'd stop using that word. What happened to your precious Nazgul? Has he had another mount shot under him? Sorry. Now, if you'd brought him along, that might have been useful, if these Nazgul are all they make out.
Nazgul, Nazgul,
said Grishnak, shivering and licking his lips, as if the word had a foul taste that he savoured painfully.
You speak of what is deep beyond the reach of your muddy dreams, Ugluk, he said. Nazgul, all that they make out. One day you'll wish that you had not said that, ape,
he snarled fiercely. Hang on. Why do orcs know what apes are? Hang on. Why do orcs know what apes are? And why is he... Where? What? Tolkien. Tolkien. You cannot give these things to me and then just... yes, it is because he's... Yes, I know it's because he's racist, but he can't add these things in. Oh, that's actually Ratgloss comes up with a very good answer. 8, possibly a translator's addition. Yes, maybe. I mean, that makes sense actually because. Well, no, maybe I don't know. There definitely could be, but I'm wondering where. I'm wondering where there would be apes, and why they're using it as an insult. Do the orcs know about evolution? Does evolution exist? Never mind. Anyway, we'll keep going. We'll keep going. I'm glad you like my my Ugluk voice. The translator's racism showing through, maybe. He snarled fiercely.
You ought to know that they're the apple. You ought to know that they're the apple of the great eye. But the winged Nazgul, not yet. Not yet. He won't let them show themselves across the great river yet. Not too soon. They're for the war and other purposes.
You seem to know a lot, said Ugluk. More than is good for you, I guess. Perhaps those in Lugburs might wonder how and why, in the meantime, the Uruk-hai of Isengard can do the dirty work, as usual. Don't stand there slavering. Get your rabble together, and the other swine are legging it to the forest. You'd better follow. You wouldn't get back to the great river alive. Right off the mark, now. I'll be on your heels. The Isengarders seized Merry and Pippin again, slung them on their backs. Slung them on their backs. Then the troops started off. Hour after hour they ran, pausing now and again only to sling the hobbits to fresh carriers, either because they were quicker and hardier, or because some plan of Grishnak's. The Isengarders gradually passed through the orcs of Mordor, and Grishnak's folk closed in behind. Soon they were gaining also on the Northerners ahead. The forest began to draw nearer. Pippin was bruised and torn. His aching head was grated by the filthy jowl and hairy ear of the orc that held him. Immediately in front were bowed backs and tough, thick legs going up and down, unresting, as if they were made of wire and horn, beating out the nightmare seconds of an endless time. In the afternoon, Ugluk's troop overtook the Northerners. They were flagging in the rays of the bright sun, winter sun shining, in a pale, cool sky, though it was. Their heads were down and their tongues lolling out. "Maggots!" jeered the Isengarders. "You're cooked! The Whiteskins will catch you and eat you! They're coming!" A cry from Grishnak showed that this was not mere jest. Horsemen, riding very swiftly, had indeed been sighted, still far behind, but gaining on the orcs, gaining on them like a tide over the flats on folk straying in a quicksand. Ugh. The Isengarders began to run with a redoubled pace that astonished Pippin, a terrific spurt it seemed for the end of a race. Then he saw that the sun was sinking, falling behind the misty mountains. Shadows reached over the land. The soldiers of Mordor lifted their heads and also began to put on speed. The forest was dark and close. Already they had passed a few outlying trees. The land was beginning to slope upwards, ever more steeply, but the orcs did not halt. Both Ugluk and Grishnak shouted, spurring them on to a last effort.
They will make it yet. They will escape, thought Pippin,
And then he managed to twist his neck so as to glance back with one eye over his shoulder. He saw that riders away eastward were already level with the orcs, galloping over the plain. The sunset gilded their spears and helmets, and glinted in their pale flowing hair. They were hemming the orcs in, preventing them from scattering and driving them along the line of the river. He wondered very much what kind of folk they were. He wished now that he had learned more in Rivendell, and looked more at maps and things, but in those days the plans for the journey seemed to be in more competent hands, and he had never reckoned with being cut off from Gandalf or from Strider, and even from Frodo. All that he could remember about Rohan was that Gandalf's horse, Shadowfax, had come from that land. That sounded hopeful as far as it went.
But how will they know that we're not orcs, he thought. I don't suppose they've ever heard of hobbits down here. I suppose I ought to be glad that the beastly orcs look like being destroyed, but I would rather be saved myself.
The chances that he and Merry would be killed together with their captors before ever the men of the Rohan... the chances were that he and Merry would be killed together with their captors before ever the men of Rohan were aware of them. A few of the riders appeared to be bowmen, skilled at shooting from a running horse. Riding swiftly into range, they shot arrows at the orcs that straggled behind, and several of them fell. Then the riders wheeled away out of range of the answering bows of their enemies, who shot wildly, not daring to halt. This happened many times, and on one occasion arrows fell among the Isengarders. One of them, just in front of Pippin, stumbled and did not get up again. God, it is so galling that the Rohirrim were just entirely painted as Celtic, Old English, Pictish, rather than Mongol riders. It's so blatant. Night came down without the riders closing in for battle. Many orcs had fallen, but fully 200 remained. In the early darkness, the orcs came to a hillock. The eaves of the forest were very near, probably no more than 3 furlongs away, but they could go no further. The horsemen had encircled them. A small band disobeyed Ugluk's command and ran on towards the forest. Only 3 returned.
Well, here we are, sneered Grishnak. Fine leadership. I hope the great Ugluk will lead us out again.
Put those halflings down, ordered Ugluk, taking no notice of Grishnak. You, Lugdush, get 2 others and stand guard over them. They're not to be killed unless the filthy whiteskins break through, understand? As long as I'm alive, I want them, but they're not to cry out, and they're not to be rescued. Bind their legs. The last part of the order was carried out mercilessly, but Pippin found that for the first time he was close to Merry. The orcs were making a great deal of noise, shouting and clashing their weapons, and the hobbits managed to whisper together for a while.
I don't think much of this, said Merry. I feel nearly done in.
Don't think I could crawl far away, even if I was free.
Lembas, whispered Pippin. Lembas, I've got some. Have you? I don't think they've taken anything but our swords.
Yes, I had a packet in my pocket, answered Merry, but it must be battered to crumbs. Anyway, I can't put my mouth in my pocket.
Well, you don't have to.
And just then a savage kick warned Pippin that the noise had died down and the guards were watchful. The night was cold and still. All around the knoll on which the although you know what, actually, I'm changing. So yes, it's definitely very bad that they're called whiteskins. But what they mean is that they mean the Rohirrim. The Rohirrim are white skins, and they're isolating the Rohirrim as white skins, as opposed to any other men they meet. For example, Gondor. So I can take this terrible, very racist thing that Tolkien has done and turn it to not not good, but certainly I can use it. I can use it for my own fairer purposes. But yeah, so that's actually, yes, the turntables. So yeah, so the Rohirrim are whiteskins, unlike everybody else. Ha! Just put down my Uno flip card. Right. Okay. What was I saying? Yes, the night was cold and still. All around the knoll on which the orcs were gathered, little watchfires sprang up. Oh, actually, there was another thing. Yes, exactly. Honeybee says it's now canon that everywhere except Rohan is brown. Brilliant. Exactly. There was another thing. I forgot that there were so many orcs. I didn't realize, because, like, there's 200 now, after 100 have left, and many others have been killed. So, there was, like, 350 to 400 orcs. And that's the company that, and there definitely were 200, there were at least 200 Isengarders. So that's the company that Boromir met. He met 200 and then killed 20 of them. So there are 20 less than originally started. Anyway, sorry. Every now and then I just have to go back. You know this. You all know this about me. You all know and accept this about me. Okay. We'll start this for the third time. The night was cold and still. All around the knoll on which the orcs were gathered, little watchfires sprang up, golden red in the darkness, a complete ring of them. They were within a long bow shot, but the riders did not show themselves against the light, and the orcs wasted many arrows shooting at the fires, until Ugluk stopped them. The riders made no sound. Later in the night, when the moon came out of the mist, then occasionally they could be seen, shadowy shapes that glinted now and again in the white light as they moved in ceaseless patrol. "No, wait for the sun, curse them," growled one of the guards. "Why don't we get together and charge through? What's old Ugluk think he's doing, I should like to know?" "I dare say you would," snarled Ugluk, stepping up from behind. "Meaning I don't think at all, eh? Curse you. You're as bad as the other rabble, the maggots and the apes of Lugburs again. You should try, oh, no good trying to charge with them. They just squeal and bolt, and there are more than enough of these filthy horseboys to mop up our lot on the flat. There's only one thing these maggots can do. They can see like gimlets in the dark, but these whiteskins have better night eyes than most men, from all I've heard. And don't forget their horses. They can see the night breeze, or so it's said. Still, no, there's one thing, though fine fellows don't know. Mahur and his lads are in the forest, and they should turn up any time now." Ugluk's words were enough, apparently, to satisfy the Isengarders, but the other orcs were both dispirited and rebellious. Again, I have to pause. Again, I really do love Ugluk a lot. I really do love Ugluk a lot. Like, he seems to be the only one who, like, it's like he's like trained. Like, he's got all of this knowledge, and he obviously is very competent in what he's doing. He's got this kind of competency. He knows what should be done, and he's just trying to get this job done. He really is just trying to get this done. and I like that a lot. I like that a lot. He's trying so hard to get all of these like everybody else is just so it's just so oh, we still have the meme up. Of course. Anyway, let's keep going. Also interesting, if Ugluk's right, the Rohirrim have good night eyesight. They can see better in the dark. That's funny. That's fun. Why? I guess, I mean, cool. I'm into it. Honeybee says, "Oh shit, I was enjoying it so much, I forgot we had a walking video." This bit is very fun. I am having a very good time reading this bit. Okay. orcs are just naturally fun to read. Let me see, hang on, let me see if I can, I just want to orientate my mic a bit better. See if I can, oh, this might not work. Ooh, this won't. Maybe? Like, eh. Like that? It might work, we'll try that. Can everyone hear me still fine? I'm talking into the wrong bit. Can you still hear me fine? I think it's a little bit not right. No, we're gonna have to keep it at a, it's very unfortunate that the line has to go across my chest. Anyway, okay. Yeah, thought so. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll keep it like this then. Never mind. Never mind. Yes, Ugluk's words were enough apparently to satisfy the Isengarders, but the other orcs were both dispirited and rebellious. They posted a few watchers, but most of them lay on the ground, resting in the pleasant darkness. It did indeed become very dark again, for the moon passed westward into a thick cloud, and Pippin could not see anything a few feet away. The fires brought no light to the hillock. The riders were not, however, content merely to wait for the dawn and let their enemies rest. A sudden outcry on the east side of the knoll showed that something was wrong. It seemed that some of the men had ridden in close, slipped off their horses, crawled to the edge of the camp and killed several orcs, and then had faded away again. Ugluk dashed off to stop a stampede. I also forgot that this is like cool. Like it's like I forgot it's far more in depth. Like it's in depth in terms of Rohirrim fighting techniques and this kind of very guerrilla warfare style stuff, and I really, it's very cool. I really quite like it a lot. They've created a very it's created a very good idea and conception of how skilled the Rohirrim are at doing what they do when they're able to like construct situations for their own benefit. Anyway, it's cool. It's cool. Blah, 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 blah. Pippin and Merry sat up. Their guards, Isengarders, had gone with Ugluk, but if the hobbits had had any thought of escape, it was soon dashed. A long, hairy arm took each of them by the neck and drew them close together. Dimly they were aware of Grishnak's great head and hideous face between them. His foul breath was on their cheeks. He began to paw them and feel them. Pippin shuddered as hard, cold fingers groped down his back.
"Well, my little ones," said Grishnak in a soft whisper, "enjoying your nice rest, or not? A little awkwardly placed, perhaps. Swords and whips on one side and nasty spears on the other. Little people should not meddle in affairs that are too big for them."
His fingers continued to grope. There was a light, like a pale but hot fire behind his eyes. The thought came suddenly into Pippin's mind, as if caught direct from the urgent thought of his enemy.
"Grishnak knows about the ring. He's looking for it. While Ugluk is busy, he probably wants it for himself."
Cold fear was in Pippin's heart, yet at the same time he was wondering what use he could make of Grishnak's desire.
"I don't think you will find it that way," he whispered. "It isn't easy to find." "Find it?"
said Grishnak. His fingers stopped crawling and gripped Pippin's shoulder.
"Find what? What are you talking about, little one?"
For a moment Pippin was silent. Then suddenly in the darkness he made a noise in his throat. "Gollum! Gollum!" "Nothing, my precious," he added. The hobbits felt Grishnak's fingers twitch.
"Oh ho!" he
hissed the goblin softly.
"That's what he means, is it? Oh ho! Well, very, very dangerous, my little ones."
"Perhaps," said Merry, now alert and aware of Pippin's guess. "Perhaps, and not only for us. Still, you know your business best. Do you want it or not? And what would you give for it?"
Do I want it? Do I want it?"
said Grishnak, as if puzzled, but his arms were trembling.
"What would I give for it? What do you mean?"
"We mean," said Pippin, choosing his words carefully, "that it's no good groping in the dark. We could save you time and trouble, but you must untie our legs first, and or we'll do nothing and say nothing."
"My dear little tender fools," hissed Grishnak, "everything you have and everything you know will be got out of you in due time. Everything. You'll wish there was more that you could tell to satisfy the questioner. Indeed you will, quite soon. We shan't hurry the inquiry, oh dear no. What do you think you've been kept alive for? My dear little fellows, please believe me when I say that it was not out of kindness. That's not even one of Ugluk's faults."
"Oh, I find it quite easy to believe," said Mary. "But you haven't got your prey home yet, and it doesn't seem to be going your way, whatever happens. If we come to Isengard, it won't be the great Grishnak that benefits. Saruman will take all that he can find. If you want anything for yourself, now's the time to do a deal." Grishnak began to lose his temper. The name of Saruman seemed specially to enrage him. Time was passing, and the disturbance was dying down. Ugluk or the Isengarders might return at any minute.
"Have you got it, either of you?" he snarled.
Gollum, said Pippin. "Untie our legs," said Merry. They felt the orc's arms trembling violently.
"Curse you, you little filthy vermin," he hissed. "Untie your legs. I'll untie every string in your bodies. Do you think I can't search you to the bones? Search you? I'll cut you both to quivering shreds. I don't need the help of your legs to get you away, and have you all to myself."
Suddenly he seized them. The strength in his long arms and shoulders was terrifying. He tucked them He tucked them one under each armpit and crushed them fiercely to his sides. A great stifling hand was clapped over each of their mouths. Then he sprang forward, stooping low. Quickly and silently he went, until he came to the edge of the knoll, where... Yeah, Ugluk really is trying to corral everyone for the group project. He really is. He's trying his best. He's doing as good as he can. Yeah. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Quietly and silently he went, until he came to the edge of the knoll. There, choosing a gap between the watchers, he passed like an evil shadow out into the night, down the slope and away westward, towards the river that flowed out of the forest. In that direction there was a wide open space with only one fire. After going a dozen yards he halted, peering and listening. Nothing could be seen or heard. He crept slowly on, bent almost double. Then he squatted and listened again. Then he stood up, as if to risk a sudden dash. At that very moment the dark form of a rider loomed up right in front of him. The horse snorted and reared. A man called out. Grishnak flung himself on the ground, dragging the hobbits under him. Then he drew his sword. No doubt he meant to kill his captives, rather than allow them to escape or to be rescued. But it was his undoing. The sword rang faintly, and glinted a little in the light of the fire away to his left. An arrow came whistling out of the gloom. It was aimed with skill, or guided by fate, and it pierced his right hand. He dropped the sword and shrieked. There was a quick beat of hooves, and even as Grishnak leapt up and ran, he was ridden down, and a spear passed through him. He gave a hideous shivering cry, and lay still. The hobbits remained flat on the ground, as Grishnak had left them. Another horseman came riding swiftly to his comrade's aid. Whether because of some special keenness of sight, or because of some other sense, the horse lifted and sprang lightly over them. But its rider did not see them, lying covered in their elven cloaks, too crushed for the moment, and too afraid to move. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, actually, because horses totally do that. They don't actually, horses never trample something unless they actively want to. A horse is the most aware of something under its feet of any creature I've ever known. It's so, he's so absolutely correct. I can totally imagine that happening. The horse being like, oh, no, whoops, oh, there's two kids here. Do you want to know about this? No, I guess we've got some more important things to do. Ragnar says, Gollum's so notorious, regular orcs know about his peculiar speech patterns. Yes, as I've said before, I'm pretty sure Gollum has a somewhat terrifying, almost terrifying children's story type mystique to him in amongst all orcs. I think they're all absolutely terrified of him, because he's like he could kill them without them noticing. He'd be very terrifying. Everyone's scared of Gollum. But I think Grishnak would be most aware of why. So yeah. At last, Merry stirred and whispered softly, "So far, so good, but how are we to avoid being spitted?" The answer came almost immediately. The cries of Grishnak had roused the orcs. From the yells and screeches that came from the knoll, the hobbits guessed that their disappearance had been discovered. Ugluk was probably knocking off a few more heads. Then, suddenly, the answering cries of orc voices came from the right, outside the circle of watchfires, from the direction of the forest and the mountains. Malheur had apparently arrived, and was attacking the besiegers. There was the sound of galloping horses. The riders were drawing in their ring close around the knoll, risking the orc arrows so as to prevent any sortie, while a company rode off to deal with the newcomers. Suddenly, Merry and Pippin realized that without moving they were now outside the circle. There was nothing between them and escape. "Now," said Merry, "if only we had our legs and hands free, we might get away, but I can't touch the knots and I can't bite them." "No need to try," said Pippin. "I was going to tell you, I have managed to free my hands. These loops are only left for show. You'd better have a bit of lembas first." He slipped the cords off his wrists and fished out a packet. The cakes were broken, but good, still in their leaf wrappings. The hobbits each ate 2 or 3 pieces. Wait, I've just realised how funny this is. There's literally a huge pitch battle happening, right over there. Right next to them, there's huge pitch battle between orcs are screaming, and the riders are riding creatures down, and there's another whole new lot of orcs that have just arrived from the forest. But Merry and Pippin are just sitting in the grass, casually having, I guess this would be supper? Yes, casually having supper. We've got to eat something first. We can't get going before we've eaten something. Oh, it's very funny. It's very, very funny. They're such hobbits. What a hobbit thing to do. Nothing could be more in character. Oh, okay. The hobbits each ate 2 or 3 pieces. The taste brought back to them the memory of fair faces and laughter, and wholesome food in quiet days now far away. For a while they ate thoughtfully, sitting in the dark, heedless of the cries and sounds of battle nearby. Pippin was the first to come back to the present. "Oh, we must be off," he said. "Half a moment." Grishnak's sword was lying close at hand, but it was too heavy and clumsy for him to use, so he crawled forward, and finding the body of the goblin, he drew from its sheath a long, sharp knife. With this, he quickly cut their bonds. "Now for it," he said. "When we've warmed up a bit, perhaps we shall be able to stand again and walk, but in any case, we had better start by crawling." And they crawled. The turf was deep and yielding, and that helped them, but it seemed a long, slow business. They gave the watchfire a wide berth, and wormed their way forward bit by bit, until they came to the edge of the river, gurgling away in the black shadows under its deep banks. Then they looked back. The sounds had died away. Evidently, Malheur and his lads had been killed or driven off. The riders had returned to their silent, ominous vigil. It would not last very much longer. Already the night was old. In the east, which had remained unclouded, the sky was beginning to grow pale. "Oh, we must get under cover," said Pippin, "or we shall be seen. It will not be any comfort to us if these riders discover that we are not orcs after we are dead." He got up and stamped his feet. "Those cords have cut me like wires, but my feet are getting warm again. I could stagger on now. What about you, Merry?" Merry got up. "Yes," he said, "I can manage it. Lembas does put heart into you, a more wholesome sort of feeling too than the heat of that orc draught. I wonder what it was made of. Better not to know, I expect. Let's get a drink of water to wash away the thought of it." No, Mary, actually, I would love to know what's in it, actually. No, please, I would love to know what's in that, whatever the draft was. I'm begging you, please let me know what it was in that draft. That literally, allowed you to keep walking on while still bleeding from a head wound. Never mind. Let's get a drink to wash away the thought of it. Well, not here. The banks are too steep, said Pippin. Forward now. They turned and walked side by side, slowly along the line of the river. Behind them the light grew in the east. As they walked they compared notes, talking lightly in hobbit fashion of the things that had happened since their capture. No listener would have guessed from their words that they had suffered cruelly and been in dire peril, going without hope towards torment and death, or that even now, as they knew well, they had little chance of ever finding friend or safety. Well, you seem to have been doing very well, Master Took, said Merry. You will get almost a chapter in old Bilbo's book, if ever I get a chance to report to him. Good work, especially guessing that hairy villain's little game, and playing him up to it. But I wonder if anyone will ever pick up your trail and find that brooch. I should hate to lose mine, but I'm afraid yours is gone for good. Well, I shall have to brush up my toes if I am ever to get level with you. Oh wait, sorry. Nope, this is still Merry. Well, I shall have to brush up my toes if I am to ever get level with you. Indeed, Cousin Brandybuck is going in front now. This is where he comes in. I don't suppose you have much notion where we are, but I spent my time at Rivendell rather better. We're walking west along the Entwash. The butt end of the Misty Mountains is in front, and Fangorn Forest. Even as he spoke, the dark edge of the forest loomed up straight before them. Night seemed to have taken refuge under its great trees, creeping away from the coming dawn. Or lead on, Master Brandybuck, said Pippin, or lead back. We have been warned against Fangorn, but one so knowing will not have forgotten that. Well, I have not, answered Merry, but the forest seems better to me all the same than turning back into the middle of a battle. Hobbits are the best, they are. Hobbits are the best. Oh, are we buffering? We shouldn't be. We're doing fine. Admittedly, my internet has been a bit unreliable, so maybe I'll pause for a bit to wait for people to say if they're still buffering or not. Enemy of Gadflies says, dramatic escapes can wait, snacks cannot. It's true. It's true. Absolutely. They can't, apparently. People are being murdered at this very moment. Doesn't matter. Ragnar says, I love the references to them being in a book. Yes, you will get a chapter. Yes, they will. They will. They'll get two. It's amazing. What was I going to say? Oh, yes. Merry mentions brushing his toes, which means I can answer Penny Anna's question about whether or not hobbits have foot hair care. They must. They must have. Because he brushes his toes. Which is a great thing to add. I'm really glad. I have to remember to at Penny about that in when the stream's done. I just love Merry and Pippin talking to each other, and they're just so unfazed, and they're just kind of getting on with it. Oh, Prince Imrahil's hello. I'm glad you're in. Sorry, we've been going for about an hour, but we've got a bit longer to go, and I'm sorry you missed all of the very funny orcs. But now we're going to get into our good old boy. Only a teensy bit of buffering. Oh yeah, it is dropping down to 200 sometimes. Yeah, just a little bit unreliable. We could have a break now and see if it will sort of settle out a bit in a sec. Ragnar says, like in Rivendell. Bilbo says, oh, you've already had so many adventures. It's going to take a few chapters before you even got there. Yes, Bilbo, and I've just read these chapters. Yes, I know, it's a wonderful feeling. I really do love it. I love the acknowledgement that this is a book that has been written already. It's great. I totally get you. Yes, I'm essentially just going to have a brief bio break, just to let the Blah, blah, blah. Let the internet settle out, and we'll see if it gets better in a bit. But yeah, be back in a sec. I just had the funniest, well, I mean, funniest for me, thought. I was just thinking, I don't know why, but I was thinking to myself, oh god, I really hope that I get to read a book this year, because I've been so, my brain's been so bad for book reading. And then I was like, wait, I'm reading a book right now. It made me feel a lot better about myself. I was like, wait, I am in fact reading a book now. It's great. Anyway. Oh, Kaz is here. Well, welcome in. Glad to see you. We're only about an hour in, so we should be going for a bit longer. Yes, yep. Hobbit foot care. Ratgloss says, we've seen a claim that hobbits don't stay shoeless throughout the book. Merry and Pippin are clearly still barefoot, though. Where's this coming from? I don't know. I was pretty sure that hobbits... Well, no, some hobbits... I think some hobbits in Bree wear shoes. Don't they? I think they do. I think there's... I feel like I recall something being said about Bree hobbits wearing shoes. I don't know. Oh, and by the way, Kaz, I I am very excited to read your thing. I just, I will admit, I was not in my energies were just not enough for the emotional toll that I expect will be taken from what you've written. So I'm gonna wait until after the stream. Yes, Honeybee says, don't worry, we've got all the Aragorn hate out before you arrived, Kaz. Yes, we did. We got it all out. So now we're just very happy about how sweet the hobbits are and how funny orcs are. Yeah, I don't remember a point where Racklow says apparently Bilbo gets shoes in Rivendell during The Hobbit, according to a letter, but other than that... Oh. No, I honestly couldn't tell you where the hobbits might start wearing shoes. Admittedly, that's not something I pay close attention to, so... we'll find it out. We'll find it out in here. As soon as, we'll see. We'll keep reading and see. I'm sure we'll be able to point out when they start wearing shoes. It's definitely, yeah. Okay. Alright. Any buffering? How is the buffering going? Can we get a buffer check? I'll have some yogurt while I do that. It's very funny. Me and Kaz in text will be like, well, I'll be horrifically rude and argumentative in text. Well, Kaz is still argumentative, but just not rude. But I'll be horrifically rude and argumentative in text. But as soon as we get chatting on voice, Kaz is just like, we have very pleasant conversations. Eventually, me and Kaz will actually get down to voice chatting an actual argument. Just waiting for somebody to let me know if it's still buffering or not, but we'll get going after I get a go ahead. Yep. No buffering? Okay, let's get going again. Let me just have one more spoonful of yogurt. Excellent. Excellent. We've got a bit of a delay, but it's not that bad, so we'll keep going. I mean, of course we'll keep going. We're an hour in, so we're going to have to deal with any delay that we get. Okay. He, meaning Merry, he led the way in under the huge branches of the trees. Old beyond guessing they seemed. Great trailing beards of lichen hung from them, blowing and swaying in the breeze. Out of the shadows the hobbits peeped, gazing back down the slope, little furtive figures that in the dim light looked like elf children in the deeps of time, peering out of the wild wood in wonder at their first dawn. Aw. Damn it, I had an emotion about elves. Never mind. Far over the great river and the brown lands, leagues upon grey leagues away, the dawn came, red as flame. Loud rang the hunting horns to greet it. The riders of Rohan sprang suddenly to life. Horn answered horn again. Merry and Pippin heard, clear in the cold air, the neighing of war horses and the sudden singing of many men. The sun's limb was lifted, an arc of fire above the margin of the world. Then, with a great cry, the riders charged from the east. The red light gleamed on mail and spear. The orcs yelled and shot all the arrows that remained to them. The hobbits saw several horsemen fall, but their line held up the hill and over it, and wheeled round and charged again. Most of the raiders that were left alive then broke and fled, this way and that, pursued one by one to the death. But one band, holding together in a black wedge, drove forward resolutely in the direction of the forest. Straight up the slope they charged towards the watchers. Now they were drawing near, and it seemed certain that they would escape. They had already hewn down 3 riders that barred their way. "Oh, we have watched too long," said Merry. "There's Ugluk. I don't want to meet him again." The hobbits turned and fled deep into the shadows of the wood. So it was that they did not see the last stand when Ugluk was overtaken and brought to bay at the very edge of Fangorn. There he was slain at last by Eomer, the 3rd Marshal of the Mark, who dismounted and fought him sword to sword, and over the wide fields and keen-eyed riders. And over the wide fields, the keen-eyed riders hunted down the few orcs that had escaped and still had strength to fly. Then, when they had laid their fallen comrades in a mound and had sung their praises, The riders made a great fire and scattered the ashes of their enemies. So ended the raid, and no news of it came ever back, either to Mordor or to Isengard, but the smoke of the burning rose high to the heavens, and was seen by many watchful eyes. I like the way Éomer... There's a... That's a... There's an element of frustration in that, isn't there? Like Ugluk had really... I'm kind of sad. I'm sad that Ugluk is dead. Oh no! He tried so hard. He really put so much effort into this. But there's an element of weird bitten frustration in Éomer being like, right, fuck it. I'm gonna get off my horse. I'm gonna fight him man to man. I've had enough of this fucking orc. I'm gonna get him finally once and for all. It's just like you can imagine Éomer Ugluk's kind of kill. I guess what it must have been was Ugluk had killed a number of riders. I mean, there was 15, and they slew 3, didn't they? So he killed a number of the riders, and then Éomer was like, "That's it, enough of this. I'm not sending. I'll do it myself." And so he just gets off Firefoot and then just stomps towards him as he's corralled, I guess, in a circle of riders, and then they just fucking fight it out. I love that. But I'm also sad. I'm quite sad that Ugluk's dead. I'm quite sad. That poor man. That poor Uruk. He tried so hard. He tried so hard. Anyway. We are... Right. Chapter 4. We are in Chapter 4. Treebeard. Which I guess isn't as spoilery a title as it feels. Because it's just a word that we don't really understand yet if we had just been reading these books. So it's just like, oh, Treebeards, and you kind of yes, because Honeybee says great trailing beards of lichen, you say? Yeah, exactly. Maybe the reason he says that initially is so that that's the what's the word? That's what you attribute it to. You're thinking, oh, you mean the lichen? That's a weird title for a chapter, but I guess if it's important. Farken Schnoffingottom says Uruk failed the group project. I know, he really did. He really did, but he tried so hard not to. He was so close. Anyway. Okay. Chapter 4, Treebeard. Meanwhile, the hobbits went with as much speed as the dark and tangled forest allowed, following the line of the running stream... Oh, bugger. Following the line of the running stream westward, and up towards the slopes of the mountains, deeper and deeper into Fangorn. Slowly their fear of the orcs died away, and their pace slackened. A queer, stifling feeling came over them, as if the air was too thin or too scanty for breathing. At last Merry halted. "Oh, we can't go on like this," he panted. "I want some air." "Well, let's have a drink, at any rate," said Pippin. "I'm parched." He clambered onto a great tree root that wound down into the stream, and stooping drew up some water in his cupped hands. It was clear and cold, and he took many draughts. Merry followed him. The water refreshed them, and seemed to cheer their hearts. For a while they sat together on the brink of the stream, dabbling their sore feet and legs, and peering round at the trees that stood silently about them. Rank upon rank, until they faded away into a grey twilight in every direction. You'd think after their run-in with Old Man Willow, they would be a little bit more cautious of jumping over roots and stuff. But never mind. Oh, Kaz says, "I'm liking this chapter already." And I tell you all this to make sure that his shame is indelibly marked into these streets. He can't get away from it now. Anyway, "I suppose you haven't lost us already," said Pippin, leaning back against a great tree trunk. "We can at least follow the course of this stream, the Entwash or whatever you call it, and get out again the way we came." "Well, we could, if our legs would do it," said Merry, "and if we could breathe properly." "Yes, it's all very dim and stuffy in here," said Pippin, It reminds me somehow of the old room in the great place at the Tooks away back in the Smeals at Tuckborough. A huge place where the furniture has never been moved or changed for generations. They say the old Took lived in it year after year while he and the room got older and shabbier together. It has never been changed since he died, a century ago. And old Gerontius was my great-great-grandfather. That puts it back a bit. Oh, but that is nothing to the old feeling of this wood. Look at all those weeping, trailing beards and whiskers of lichen. And most of the trees seem to be half covered with ragged, dry leaves that have never fallen. It's untidy. I can't imagine what spring would look like here, if it ever comes. Still less a spring cleaning. But the sun, at any rate, must peep in sometimes, said Mary. It does not look or feel at all like Bilbo's description of Mirkwood. That was all dark and black, and the home of dark black things. This is just dim and frightfully treeish. You can't imagine animals living here at all, or staying for very long. No, nor hobbits, said Pippin, and I don't like the thought of trying to get through it either. Nothing to eat for hundreds of miles, I should guess. Well, how are our supplies? Low, said Mary. We ran off with nothing but a couple of spare packets of lembas, and left everything else behind. They looked at what remained of the elven cakes, broken fragments for about 5 meagre days, that was all. And not a wrap or a blanket, said Mary. We shall be cold tonight, whichever way we go. Well, we'd decide better on the way now, said Pippin. We'd better decide on the way now, said Pippin. The morning must be just getting on. Just then they became aware of a yellow light that had appeared. Some way further on into the wood, shafts of sunlight seemed suddenly to have pierced the forest roof. "Hullo," said Mary. "The sun must have run into a cloud while we've been under these trees, and now she's run out again, or else she's climbed high enough to look down through some opening. It isn't far. Let's go and investigate." They found it was further than they thought. The ground was rising steeply still, and it was becoming increasingly stony. The light grew broader as they went on, and soon they saw that there was a rock wall before them, the side of a hill, or the abrupt end of some long route thrust out by the distant mountains. No trees grew on it, and the sun was falling full on its stony face. The twigs of the trees at its root were stretched out stiff and still, as if reaching out to the warmth. Where all had looked so shabby and grey before, the wood now gleamed with rich browns, and with the smooth black greys of bark like polished leather. The boles of the trees glowed with a soft green like young grass. Early spring, or a fleeting vision of it was about them. In the face of the stony wall there was something like a stair, natural perhaps, and made by the weathering and splitting of the rock, for it was rough and uneven. High up, almost level with the top of the forest trees, there was a shelf under a cliff. Nothing grew there but a few grasses and weeds at its edge, and one old stump of a tree, with only 2 bent branches left. It looked almost like a figure of some gnarled old man standing there, blinking in the morning light. "Up we go," said Mary joyfully. "Now for a breath of air, and a sight of the land." They climbed and scrambled up the rock. If the stair had been made, it was for bigger feet and longer legs than theirs. They were too eager to be surprised at the remarkable way in which the cuts and sores of their captivity had healed, and their vigour had returned. They came at length to the edge of the shelf, almost at the feet of the old stump. Then they sprang up and turned around with their backs to the hill, breathing deep and looking out eastward. They saw that they had only come some 3 or 4 miles into the forest. The heads of the trees marched down the slopes towards the plain. There, near the fringe of the forest, tall spires of curling black smoke went up, wavering and floating towards them. "Oh, the wind's changing," said Mary. "It turned east again. It feels cool up here." "Yes," said Pippin. "I'm afraid this is only a passing gleam, and it will all go grey again. What a pity! This shaggy old forest looks so different in the sunlight. I almost felt like I liked the place." Oh gosh. Breaking text off. Thank you. Let's see how deep I can go.
Almost felt like you liked the forest. That's good. That's uncommonly kind of you,
said a strange voice.
Turn around and let me have a look at your faces. I almost feel that I dislike you both, but do not let us be hasty. Turn around.
It's because they insulted the forest. So. Yes. A large knob-knuckled hand was laid on each of their shoulders, and they were twisted round, gently but irresistibly. Then 2 great arms lifted them up. They found that they were looking at them at a most extraordinary face. It belonged to a large, man-like, almost troll-like figure, at least 14 foot high, very sturdy, with a tall head and hardly any neck. Whether it was clad in stuff like green and grey bark, or whether that was its hide, was difficult to say. At any rate, the arms, at a short distance from the trunk, were not wrinkled, but covered with a brown, smooth skin. The large feet had 7 toes each. The lower part of the long face was covered with a sweeping grey beard, bushy, almost twiggy at the roots, thin and mossy at the ends. But at the moment the hobbits noted little but the eyes. These deep eyes were now surveying them, slow and solemn, but very penetrating. They were brown, shot with a green light. Often afterwards Pippin tried to describe his first impression of them. One felt as if there was an enormous well behind them, filled up with ages of memory and long, slow, steady thinking. But their surface was sparkling with the present, like summer, like sun shimmering on the outer leaves of a vast tree or on the ripples of a very deep lake. I don't know, but it felt as if something that grew in the ground. Asleep, you might say, or just feeling itself as something between root tip and leaf tip, between deep earth and sky, had suddenly waked up and was considering you with the same slow care that it had given to its own affairs, inside affairs, for endless years.
From whom? Murmured the voice, a deep voice, like a very deep woodwind instrument. Very odd indeed. Do not be hasty, that is my motto, but if I had seen you before I heard your voices, I liked them, nice little voices. They reminded me of something I cannot remember. If I had seen you before I heard you, I should have just trodden on you, taking you for little orcs, and found out my mistake afterwards. Very odd you are indeed, root and twig, very odd.
Pippin, though still amazed, no longer felt afraid. Under those eyes he felt a curious suspense, but not fear. "Oh, please," he said, "who are you, and what are you?" A queer look came into the old eyes, a kind of wariness. The deep wells were covered over.
Now," answered the voice. "Well, I am an Ent, or that's what they called me. Yes, Ent is the word. The Ent I am, you might say, in your manner of speaking. Fangorn is my name, according to some. Treebeard, others make it. Treebeard will do."
"An Ent?" said Merry. "What's that? And what do you call yourself? What's your real name?"
"Oh, now," replied Treebeard. "Oh, now, that would be telling. Not so hasty. And I am doing the asking. You are in my country. What are you, I wonder? I cannot place you. You do not seem to come in the old lists that I learned when I was young, but that was a long, long time ago, and they may have made new lists. Let me see. How did it go? Learn now the lore of living creatures. First name the form, the free peoples, eldest of all the elf children. Dwarf the delver, dark are his houses, bent the earthborn, old as mountains, man the mortal, master of horses, Beaver the builder, Buck the leaper, Bear the bee hunter, Boar the fighter, Hound is hungry, Hare is fearful, Eagle in eyrie, Ox in pasture, Hart horn crowned, Hawk is swiftest, Swan the whitest, Serpent oldest. How did it go? Tum bloom tea, tum. It was a long list. But anyway, you do not seem to fit in anywhere.
Well, we always seem to have got left out of the old lists and the old stories, said Mary. Yet we've been about for quite a long time. We're hobbits. Why not make a new line, said Pippin. Half-grown hobbits, the Hole Dwellers. Put us in amongst the four, next to man, the big people, and you've got it.
Not bad. Not bad, said Treebeard. That would do. So, you live in holes, eh? Sounds very right, and proper. Who calls you hobbits, though? That does not sound elvish to me. Elves made all the old words. They began it.
Well, nobody else calls us hobbits. We call ourselves that, said Pippin.
Come now, not so hasty. You call yourselves hobbits? But you should not go telling just anybody. You'll be letting out your own right names if you're not careful.
Well, we aren't careful about that, said Mary. As a matter of fact, I'm a Brandybuck. Mariah Brandybuck, though most people call me just Mary. Well, and I'm a Took, Peregrine Took, but I'm generally called Pippin, or even Pip.
But you are hasty folk, I see, said Treebeard. I am honoured by your confidence, but you should not be too free all at once. There are ents and ents, you know, or there are ents that look like ents, but ain't, as you might say. I'll call you Mary and Pippin, if you please. Nice names. For I am not going to tell you my name. Not yet, at any rate.
A queer, half-knowing, half-humorous look came with a green flicker to his eyes.
For one thing, it would take a very long while. My name is growing all the time, and I've lived a very long time. So, my name is like a story. Real names tell you the stories of the things they belong to in my language, and old Entish, as you might say. It is a lovely language, but it takes a very long time to say anything in it, because we do not say anything in it unless It is worth taking a long time to say and to listen to.
And a break. This voice is fucking killing me. uh. Oh god. Oh god. Oh, Peaches, welcome in. I'm so glad to have you. I'm so glad to have you. So I'm glad you like the voice. I will continue doing it, of course. Oh. Yes, Peaches, I'm very glad that you come in. I'm very sorry about your symptom syndrome. I'm very sorry. But yes, you are in time for trivia, but I'm afraid you did miss the very, very funny orc shenanigans that we had just a moment ago. Prince of Caldor says, was that a fuck? No, Buck. Enemy of Gadflies is right, it was Buck, as in deer. Brackboss makes a good point that I was going to come to. The Ents are listed among the Free Peoples, but their role feels more like that of the Eagles, which is interesting to me. Like, I guess, because the lists were made by Ents, so they consider themselves just amongst the Free People. I guess that's just what. So I guess maybe if you asked the Eagles, maybe the Eagles would also be like, no, we're also the Free Peoples. Just because we're birds doesn't mean we don't have a rich cultural inner life. Yes, it's very sweet that he's called Pip. Old Entish does sound lovely. Yeah. Yes, you shall have to watch the VOD first. Anyway, let's keep going. Hang on, I'm gonna have a bit of yogurt to see if that's what's. Also gonna try lifting up the book a bit. And having to go very deep. Having to go very deep. Ugh. Okay.
But now,
the eyes became very bright and present, seeming to grow smaller and almost sharp.
What is going on? What are you doing in it all? I can see and hear and smell and feel a great deal from this, Lala Roomba, Commander Bondo Burume, excuse me, that is a part of my name for it. I do not know what the word is in the outside languages. You know, the thing we are on, where I stand and look out on fine mornings and think about the sun and the grass beyond the wood and the horses and the clouds and the unfolding world. What is going on? What is Gandalf up to? And these
He made a deep rumbling noise like a discord on a great organ.
The orcs and young Saruman down in Isengard. I like news, but not too quick now.
There is a lot going on, said Mary, and even if we tried to be quick, it would take a long time to tell you. But you told us not to be hasty. Ought we to tell you anything so soon? Would you think it rude if we asked what you were going to do with us, and which side you were on? And did you know Gandalf?
Oh, yes, I know him. the only wizard that really cares about trees, said Treebeard. Do you know him?
Oh yes, said Pippin sadly. We did. He was a great friend, and he was our guide.
Oh, then I can answer your other questions, said Treebeard. I am not going to do anything with you. Not if you mean by that do something to you without your leave. We might do something together. I don't know about size. I go my own way, but your way may go along with mine for a while. But you speak of Master Gandalf as if he was in a story that had come to an end.
Oh yes, we do, said Pippin. The story seems to be going on, but I'm afraid Gandalf has fallen out of it.
Oh, come now, said Treebeard. Well.
He paused, looking at the hobbits.
Well, I do not know what to say. Come now.
Well, if you would like to hear more, said Merry, we will tell you, but it will take some time. Wouldn't you like to put us down? Couldn't we sit here together in the sun while it lasts? You must be getting tired of holding us up.
Tired? No, I am not tired. I do not easily get tired. And I do not sit down. I am not very bendable. But there, the sun is going in. Let us leave this. Did you say what you call it?
A hill, suggested Pippin. Shelf? Step, suggested Merry. Treebeard repeated the words thoughtfully.
Hill. Yes, that was it. But it is a hasty word for a thing that has stood here ever since this part of the world was shaped. Never mind. Let us leave it and go.
Where shall we go? Asked Merry.
Oh, to my home. Nor one of my homes, answered Treebeard.
Is it far?
Oh, I do not know. You might call it far, perhaps. But what does it matter?
Well, you see, we've lost all our belongings, said Merry. We have only a little food.
Oh, you need not trouble about that, said Treebeard. I can give you a drink that will keep you green and growing for a long, long while. And if we decide to part company, I shall set you down outside my country at any point you choose. Or let us go.
Yes, I love that bit. Hang on, what is it? Yes, Kaz says Ent having bilingual problems from this what's it called? Yes, the young Saruman part I do like. I like the way he's like Saruman and Gandalf are the same age, but he calls Saruman young Saruman because he's all hasty. Kaz says, Treebeard, the only wizard who cares about trees. Radagast, so I joke to you? Yeah, this is the thing. Like, I mean, I guess Radagast is the animal guy, but I do also feel like Radagast has some attachment to trees. Like some. Yeah, he must like trees as well. He is a admirer of Yavanna. Maybe it's just that... I mean, it doesn't make any sense that Radagast wouldn't know Treebeard. mean, I guess it does. Maybe Radagast is just like I have my forest and the trees that I like, and Treebeard. Maybe Radagast and Treebeard had like a big falling out long time ago, and they've never gotten over it. Yeah, animals are a speciality. Yeah. Honeybee says, I like how they're still not saying Gandalf's dead, Jert, you wily bastard. Well, I mean, again, I don't know how aware everyone else is about this, all the characters, but I do feel like there's a general understanding that, maybe, no, actually, that's a lie, I'm pretty sure, yeah. But it is more true. Like, even if Gandalf had literally died, he wouldn't have literally died. He would still have just gone back home. He can't die. He's a spirit, and he'd just become a spirit and then go back home. So literally, he would only have fallen. He wouldn't have died. Oh my god, that's a very big spider. Hello. Oh, hello. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to spook you. I'm so sorry. Aww. Yeah. That's a good way to go. All the way over there. Can you not feel your way? Is it a bit too difficult? Gonna go back up. Abort the mission. Look at your little flaily arms. Aww. Oh, have you found it? Have you found your way? Figured it out? Yep. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, I'm having a very tender moment with this spider. I'm sorry. I'll get back to it in a second. Seven Star Seven Stone says Aaron is going to need to make Andy Serkis's special tea or whatever for Treebeard. Yeah. Yeah, I might. It's true. I really might, because it's not. I think it's more. I don't know. It's just it's grating on one very specific part of my throat. Yes, there's a spider. It's trying to figure its out. I think it's lost its web recently, so it's trying to figure its way out down the wall, but it's not quite sure where it's gonna go. I don't think here's where you want to go, my boy. Or girl, my lovely. Are you sure that's where you want to stay? Well, okay. Oh, he's figured out. He's figured out where he wants to go. Aww. I just love the way the way that, like, the really long-legged spiders have these really long legs in front of them, and they wave in this incredibly soft, like, really it's just it looks so soft as a wave, like they're very gently stroking the wall because he's trying to find his where he's left. Oh, he might fall as well. Oh no, he's doing his best. I'm not entirely sure where he's trying to go though. Maybe he's just trying to fix up all of his webs so that he can climb down here later. Anyway, oh my god. Oh my god. I'm just mesmerized by his fake. I will continue reading this book. Good god. Aaron, yeah. Prince of Caldor says Speed Ray. Excellent. I don't know what that's. Oh, spider. I see. Speed Ray. Yes, it is a Speed Ray. Prince of Caldor says Aaron chatting to a spider is giving me feels today. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you've had a real bad day, and I'm glad you're having a good time now. Nope. Now he's figuring out what he wants to do. He's oh my god, I'm just watching this spider like make its web around on the Now, where are you gonna go? Yeah, okay. I'm gonna... Okay, okay. I love spiders. I love all insects. You all know this about. Well, Jen and Des know this about it. Okay. The Fellowship doesn't know Gandalf's admirer, I know, but certainly the book knows. Okay, we'll continue on from the spider break. Okay, little now. Right. Holding the hobbits gently but firmly, one in the crook of each arm, Treebeard lifted up first one large foot and then the other, and moved them to the edge of the shelf. The root-like toes grasped the rocks. Then carefully and solemnly he stalked down from step to step and reached the floor of the forest. At once he set off with a long, deliberate stride through the trees, deeper and deeper into the wood, never far from the stream, climbing steadily up towards the slopes of the mountains. Many of the trees seemed to sleep, or as unaware of him as any other creature that merely passed by, but some quivered and some raised up their branches above his head as he approached. All the while he walked, but he talked to himself, in a long-running stream of musical sounds. The hobbits were silent for some time. They felt, oddly enough, safe and comfortable, and they had a great deal to think and wonder about. At last Pippin ventured to speak again. "Oh, please, Treebeard," he said, "could I ask you something? Why did Celeborn warn us against your forest? He told us not to risk getting entangled in it."
Did he now? Rumbled Treebeard. And I might have said much the same if you had been going the other way. Do not risk getting entangled in the woods of Lorelin-Doranan. That is what the elves used to call it, but now they make the name shorter. Lothlorien, they call it. Perhaps they are right. Maybe it is fading, not growing, land of the valley of singing gold. That was it once upon a time. Now it is the dream flower. Ah, well, but it is a queer place, and not for just anyone to venture in. I am surprised that you ever got out, but much more surprised that you ever got in. That has not happened to strangers for many a year. It is a queer land.
"I am entirely vindicated. I have never been more vindicated. Thank you, Treebeard. I forgive all of your elf fetishism." It's not fetishism, that's a mean thing to say to Treebeard, but his elf love. I forgive it all, because he vindicated me entirely. Nobody gets into Lorien, and if they do, it's very dangerous. Anyway. Yes, Kaz, yes. You can send me all the weird emojis you like. I have been vindication. Anyway.
And so is this. Folk have come to grief here. Aye, they have to grief. Lorelin-Doranan, Lindelrondo, Malinor-Nelelon, Nemali.
He hummed to himself.
They are falling rather behind in there, I guess, he said. Neither this country nor anything else outside the Golden Wood is what it was when Celeborn was young. Still, Torellilonia, Tumbelemoria, Tumbele Torea Nomeno.
It then says, see Appendix F under Ents, but again, we're not gonna do that. You can get fucked. Yes. Rakos says, elves destroyed by a tree. Yes, they were. Entirely.
That is what they used to say. Things have changed, but it is still true in places.
Well, what do you mean, said Pippin? What is true?
The trees and the Ents,
Said Treebeard.
I do not understand all that goes on myself, so I cannot explain it to you. Some of us are still true Ents, and lively enough in our fashion, but many are growing sleepy, going tree-ish, as you might say. Most of the trees are just trees, of course, but many are half awake. Some are quite wide awake, and who are, well, getting entish. That is going on all the time. When that happens to a tree, you find that some have bad hearts. Nothing to do with their wood. Why, I do not mean that. Why, I knew some good old willows down the Entwash, gone long ago, alas. They were quite hollow. Indeed, they were falling all to pieces, but as quiet and sweet-spoken as a young leaf. And then there are some trees under the mountains in the valleys, sound as a bell, and bad right through. That sort of thing seems to spread. There used to be some very dangerous parts of this country. There are still some very black patches.
Like the old forest away to the north, do you mean? Asked Mary.
Aye, something like that, but much worse. I do not doubt there is some shadow of the great darkness lying there, still away north, and bad memories are handed down. But there are hollow dales in this land where the darkness has never been lifted, and the trees are older than I am. Still, we do what we can. We keep off strangers, and the foolhardy, and we train and teach. We walk and we lead. We are the true herds, we old Ents. Few enough of us are left now. sheep get like shepherd, and shepherd like sheep, it is said, but slowly, and neither have long in the world. It is quicker and closer with trees and ants, and they walk down the ages together, for ants are more like elves, less interested in themselves than men are, and better at getting inside other things. And yet again, ants are more like men, more changeable than elves are, and quicker at taking the colour of the outside, you might say, or better than both, for they are steadier and keep their minds on things longer. This is taking so long. What did I want to stop for? There was a thing I stopped for. Oh yes, so the problem with Fangorn. Oh, we're just about to get up to Treebeard's. We're climbing the stairs up to Treebeard's hill, on the walking video. What was I saying? Yes, so the problem with Fangorn is that some of the trees are so old there that they remember Morgoth's cataclysms and the deep rot that he started, and the initial beginning of the Mard part of Arda Mard. So they're still holding on to that grudge, I guess, or holding on to that blackness that he started. Which is cool. I quite like that. Okay, we're gonna get how long are we going? Okay, we're gonna keep going a little bit longer, but we might stop in a bit because this is fucking this is gonna be. I've just realized how long the next stream is gonna be. I mean, I refuse to do it any differently. This is not when I'm not gonna change the voice. There's no other way to do this, but. Good lord. Okay. I'm also interested. I fucking love the idea that elves are less interested in themselves than men. Fucking hilarious when it's when elves don't know shit about anybody else but elves. They don't give a fuck. What a thing for a Treebeard to say. Damn Treebeard to give me vindication and then and then non-vindication immediately afterwards. Blasted creature. I quite like this bit of the video where I just can't be bothered to go back down the stairs. So I'm just like, well, it's fine, I'll just drop off the cliff, it's fine. I walk along the very edge and then I just drop off the cliff. And I'm fine, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with me. Anyway. Okay. Where did I get to? Okay. Some of my kin look just like trees now, and need something great to rouse them, and they speak only in whispers. But some of my trees are limb-like, and many can talk to me. Well, began it, of course, waking trees up and teaching them to speak and learning their tree talk. They always wished to talk to everything. The old elves did. But then the darkness came, and they passed away over the seas, or fled into far valleys, and hid themselves, and made songs about days that would never come again. Never again? Aye, aye, there was all one wood once upon a time, from here to the mountains of Gloom, and this was just the east end. Those were the broad days. Time was when I could walk from and sing all day and hear no more than the echo of my own voice in the hollow hills. The woods were like the woods of Lothlorien, only thicker, stronger, younger, and the smell of the air. I used to spend a week just breathing.
Treebeard fell silent, striding along, and yet making hardly a sound with his great feet. Then he began to hum again, and passed into a murmuring chant. Gradually the hobbits became aware that he was chanting to them.
In the willow leaves of Tessarinan I walk in the spring. Ah, the sight and the smell of the spring in Nan Tessarion. And I said that was good. I wandered in summer in the elm woods of Ossirian, and the light and the music in the summer by the 7 rivers of Ossir, and I thought that was best. To the beaches of Meldreth I came in the autumn. Ah, the gold and the red and the sighing of leaves in the autumn in Tower Na Neldor. It was more than my desire. 2 pine trees upon the high of Dorthonion I climbed in the winter. Ah, the wind and the whiteness and the pitch-black branches of winter upon Orod Na Thorn. My voice went up and sang in the sky, and now all those lands lie under the wave, and I walk in Abarona, in Taramona, in Aldalone, in my own land, in the country of Fangorn, where the roots are long and the years lie thicker than leaves in Taramona.
Ugh. Oh, Lawan is here. Hello. Welcome in. Very glad to have you. Yes, admittedly we might be stopping in a little bit. Honeybee says, elves waking up for the first time, being all new on the earth and immediately trying to talk to everything is actually quite sweet. Yes, I have a lot of emotional attachment to the very young baby elves. Because they could have been good people. The thing is that the young baby elves, they could have been good people. They started out well. They could have just lived in the world and been fine. But they did have to go to Valinor and then get a lot of Valinor influenced pride and self-obsession, self-absorption. No matter what Treebeard says. They had to go and become and start thinking of themselves as the best ever folk, and that's just where all the trouble started. If elves and men had been able to grow up alongside each other, like men woke up later and a little bit later, but they talked to each other and developed a whole culture where they were just integrated together. And that would have been great. And that would have been fine. But, nope. Manway said no. I'm gonna do a bad job, actually. Okay. Damn, you know what, actually? He ended and strode on silently, and in all the wood, as far as ear could reach, there was not a sound. I might end it there, actually. Though that is, I mean, I did say I was going to end it a little bit. Oh, the spider's gone. Where'd he go? Sir? My little boy? My lovely? Nope. No idea. Oh. Yes, I think we might be stopping there because I simply cannot do that voice for long periods of time. Let's see. What are we doing next time? Yep, it's just... Oh dear, my goodness. This is a very long next chapter, isn't it? Right, well... Ooh, 70 to 9. Oh, that's the normal amount. Okay, so we've got all... We'll do all of Treebeard next time, and then we get back to our 3 runners. We have to get back to oh, I'm sorry, Laowen, yes. I'm so sorry, but the pod will be up very soon. Ugh. I'm gonna have a sore throat tomorrow, I think. Yes, there are songs. There's a nice Entwife song at the end, which I think somebody must have done a cover for. So I'll search that out and see how I do. I might be that I will record myself singing that ahead of time, considering I'm going to have to be doing this voice for most of the next one. Yes, a duet happens soon. I wonder how I'm going to be able to do that. I guess I'll just have to sing it myself, all of them, but we'll see how it goes. Oh, that was a good bit though. I love all that bit. I just love these books so much. They're such good books. As much as I just have to keep ragging on them. They're such good books, and they're so fun to read. They're great to read. They're like it's almost as though The Lord of the Rings was kind of made, like it was. I mean, I guess that is. It was entirely written to be read to people, to be read to kids, I guess. Like, it's a perfect book to read to children because it has all of these wild characters and their wild voices, and it's all dramatic, but it's not too thick as a book. So it's good. Yeah, it's like meant to be read. Oh my goodness. Oh, here's the bit in the walking video where I just find a bear with a rabbit sitting on its head. Like a bear skin with a rabbit sitting on. I don't know why they put that there. I don't know why Lord of the Rings Online put that there. Although that reminds me, I guess the bit where Treebeard is saying that there are some things that are not Ents but are bad is what Lord of the Rings Online uses to be able to have a whole race of wood trolls, which are just trolls that seem to be made out of trees, and they come and they kill you with trees and shit. It's very frustrating. But yeah, I guess that's what they do. I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, seems legit. I'll go with it. They really get the most out of all of the very vague things that Treebeard and various other characters say. But yes, okay. I guess that's it. Thank you all again for coming. It was very nice having you. I very much enjoyed this one. I did really love this book. And I hope you all have lovely nights and days, and I'll chat to you, and I'll figure out when the next one will be. It will probably be on Thursday, as ever. Yeah. Actually, we seem to be managing. Yep. She's managing to keep a good, not so much lag. Right. Toodaloo, everybody.